Welcome to the Black Male Impact. Today we have as guest Mr. Andre Allen. Mr. Allen, welcome to the Black Male Impact.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Man, it's great having you. For this conversation today, as always, our goal is to inspire positive change. But before we get into the question and to Mr. Allen, I want Mr. Allen to share some insights so the listeners can have an understanding or just to get to know you a little bit more before we get into the questions.
No problem at all. No problem at all. I'm Andre Allen. I now reside in Iowa. I am originally from Itta Mississippi. Itta Mississippi is a very, very small town. I would say LaFleur High School, Mississippi Valley State, Jerry Rice. That's where I grew up, and that's where I'm from. I moved to Iowa when my mama and father decided to get a divorce, and it wasn't very well-known thing to do in the South. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. We moved here, and mom and dad were not very educated, and so I was sitting with some buddies one day. I'm pretty sure we weren't doing anything productive. And I'm watching TV and noticed that a lot of the guys in the NFL and NBA are doing the same things that I was doing out there, but yet they were making them millions of dollars. And so me and a buddy who I traveled with around for high school basketball and football and track and all different things. And I hung around his parents and, learned a lot from them and decided to go into sports. And so I knew my only way out of my situation, out of what we call ghettos nowadays. Well, my only way out was through sports and getting a scholarship. And so I ended up going to the University of Northern Iowa and playing in collegiate football for 4 years. I started as a freshman, defensive player of the year, 2 years in a row, All-American 3 years in a row. I attained my accounting degree in 4 years. Went on to play the Philadelphia Eagles and left there and went to London to play NFL Europe at the time. And then I went to Montreal, Winnipeg, Canadian football, and Nashville and arena football. And after I had my first son, decided that it was time for the old man to come back home and raise his kids, because I knew what it felt like to grow up fatherless, without a father, a Black father in the home. And so I came home and went back to school to show my kids that, well, you don't just play sports and you're not just a jock the whole entire time. You have to get an education, you have to live, and you have to learn. And if you're not living, you're not learning, and this life is not going to wait on you, et cetera. So went back to school and got my MBA in information technology management and was an IT program manager and project management for 16 years. And I had that itch to just start my own business and share my message around to influence the community and our young Black male and female community. And so here I am today.
Okay, man. Thanks for sharing that. And great to know about the backstory. You playing professional football, but you share something really important there, where you try your best to let others, especially your own kids, know that sports is not the only thing. And education is the way, because after sports, there will be something else to do. And
Right.
that's where the education comes in. So, man, I appreciate you sharing that. But if you don't mind, how many years did you play?
8 years total.
Man,
Uh,
that's awesome.
and it was very, very stressful. As you know, the game has changed a lot since I played. I think what changed for me is one day, it was in the off season, and watching Bill Romanowski, he used to play in Stanford, Denver Broncos, San Francisco 49ers, and the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Raiders. He played for the Raiders as well. And watching him, and he's on 60 Minutes, and he's crying. And I'm like, wait a minute, why is Bill crying? And I said, no, He was like, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, my whole life is football. And I'm going, no, that's not your whole life. And I knew at that moment that something had to give, something had to change. And so it's through the education that when I talk to kids, talk to my own kids, I always used to tell them, you use the game, don't let the game use you. And you get what you can get out of that educationally and travel around and let your message be known. You have to be a positive influence in this community. And sports is not going to be your end goal. That's just the beginning to get you, propel you to where you want to go.
Okay, man, that's awesome. And although this is what I'm about to ask you is not really a part of the questions, but I think we will get there though. But I know your mission or what you're doing is titled Crossroads.
Crossroad moments.
Crossroad
Uh,
Moments.
you think about it, we all come to that crossroad all the time. We're all at a crossroad moment any moment each and every day. And so it's that way of me getting into the businesses and the schools. And so what I normally do in businesses is I talk about ROI, and how building teams, because if you look at most organizations, they are all built by a majority of former athletes or military, male and female. And so we know how to build teams. We've been around teams all our lives. And so why not do the same thing we've done in the sports world arena into the corporate world? And so we have that knack. We understand difference. We know how to build organizations without having all the people looking exactly like us, just that one person.
That's great. But as you said, we all have our crossroad moments, but I know we will touch more on that part as we go through this conversation here today. So I want to go into the questions that I have here to ask you. My first question to you is, what is the mindset that it takes to make a positive impact?
Well, first of all, you got to love yourself. We, especially as Black males, I know you look at now, it's really the conversation has really started a lot into the mental health of us as Black people and Black males. We already look down on ourselves a lot, and that me being a bigger guy, I'm 250 pounds, and muscular and strong. We grew up on that age of don't let them see you cry. You don't cry. You don't do this. You don't do that. It was all these don'ts. So what about the do's? I mean, how many times did our fathers walk up to us and hug us and tell us that they love us? I don't think I ever remember that. How many times we heard that softness of if you get injured or fall down, I saw, oh, it's okay, son. It's okay to cry. No, it was get up, put some dirt on it, and keep on going. And so just that tough man mentality, it taught us differently. And so that stigma, I think a lot of us from a mental capacity it's impacted us. And you see a lot of it. We carry it out in sports. I think a lot of us become very good. I know I did. I became very good at sports because I could take that anger and that frustrations or my situations, my social economics that I was in, and take it on the field and be very good at that. And then I can make money off hitting people legally and not go to jail for it. Sign me up. And so that's kind of was one of those things how it all started, for me. And so that mindset we have to have as Black people and Black men, we have to love ourselves and who we are. And I don't think me growing up personally, I did not have a lot of love for myself. I didn't know what that felt like. Softness, love my wife, cuddle, care. We didn't hear, we didn't grow up under those things, on those terms. And so your mindset is a huge part of that whole growth about, getting and having our communities be better. You look at the generational wealth, you look at generational financials, you look at all those different things, literacy, financial literacy, et cetera. I was never taught those things. I had to learn those things the hard way. You get all the money, you get to the big level, you think you get to the top. Oh, I'm here. I'm finally here. I can go ahead and spend and do what I want to do and have fun and floss and be with the big boys. Well, you don't realize your friends and your counterparts, their parents saved money. They had land, they had properties, they had this, they had that. They were building themselves up to have that generational wealth, to understand the value of the dollar. And I didn't understand that at a younger age more than I do now.
And I really appreciate the perspective that you just shared, especially as men, starting with ourselves. And not only starting with ourselves, but we grew up being told that we have to be tough. That means we're going to suppress that emotion that help us to connect with others. And so that's something that really needs to be talked about and sometimes even addressed more than we even want to when we are talking about making a positive impact and even going forward, because we have to connect with ourselves if we're going to make the changes that's going to help us to make progress. So I really appreciate that insight and perspective on how we make a positive impact. So my next question is, what advice do you have for the men listening on how they can play a role in creating positive change?
I am a huge advocate for Black men such as us, educated, smart, wise, have been around, seen the things, we've fallen down, we've scarred our knees, we've been through all that pain and that struggle. We had those lessons learned that the younger generation does not have. And I know for me, growing up, I always wanted that Black professional to look up to, that Black male professional who understood what I felt inside. Because I always felt like I would go around, am I the only one feeling like this? Am I the only one thinking like this? I mean, I can't be. I can't possibly, but you would never, we didn't talk about it. We didn't have that mentor to go to and have that conversation with. It was learning the hard way. If you didn't grow up in the big metropolitan area, who was that person that I was to connect with? And so it's always been hard for me to see who can I reach out to. And I would think us as the men that have the platform to be able to connect with the younger generation, other brothers around the world. I mean, there's a lot of us that think and feel this emotion that I feel inside. And why can't we connect to those younger people and give them the platform, give them the avenue to get the help, get the resources, get the conversations, get the care that they need to be more positive, productive Black men in this world.
Man, that is so true. Again, when we have those, when we feel those way, and when we want to connect, because that's not the common practice, you don't find that it is easy to reach out to others because it's not a common practice. But the more it becomes the norm to talk about the challenge, to share the challenges, it becomes easier to make those connections so we can grow and even achieve the things that we're supposed to, because it's going to take a collective effort to break preconceived barriers, to achieve what's possible, and to break those generational strongholds that have been socially engineered when it comes to us as Black men. So the more we talk about it, the more we connect with others and be, as someone said in one of the conversation, become more vulnerable with the challenges that we are dealing with daily. And once we can get to that point where we'll make the connections, and once we start making those connections, we will break some of those barriers to start making the progress, because it's not just about making money. As I was listening to someone talking last night, he said there are a lot of people with a lot of money, but they're unhappy because they haven't dealt with those things, those hurt that they have experienced. So they use the money to suppress or make it look as if, because they haven't dealt with it. So a lot of times we strive to get more money, but we still haven't dealt with some of the issues that may keep us where we are. So the more we talk about these or have these conversations, the more progress we'll make, and we'll shed some of those things that can prevent us from making the progress that we are more than capable of making. So I'm going to go into the next question. The next question is somewhat close. Well, most of the questions are, but give us the opportunity to dive deeper into kind of flushing out and getting more perspective and insight and how we can make a positive change. So my next question is, how can we as Black men help to change the narrative?
Well, it starts with us. I always go back to, if you ever have gone to Red Lobster, if you've ever gone to any place where there's crabs in the tank, okay? I always say, us as Black men, the stereotype we always get is when we get to the top, we forget where we come from. We don't reach back down and pull each other up. We get to the top and we think, oh, I made it, so therefore I don't need to do anything else. Hands off.
Yeah.
No, we as Black men, we can't be that crab. We can't be the crab that gets to the top and he gets out of the water, but yeah, or we get the ones going to the top and the other one's trying to pull them down. It always happens every time you go to Red Lobster. We have to build each other.
Yeah.
We have to know that, Doc, I got your back. Whatever you need, my man, I got you. Or you need counseling, or I can call you at 3 o'clock in the morning, Doc, man, this is bothering me, man. Who do I talk to? If I can't get the answers from you, you know who that person is to give me the help that I need. We don't know where to turn to a lot of times. And so having that nucleus, I always tell people all the time, I go, Jesus had 12 disciples, but he only had 3 that he actually really talked to all the time. And so just because you got a circle of people around you, that circle of people that you have might not be the right ones. So we have to make sure we're always connecting with each other, no matter where it's at, what level it is, to make sure we're building each other up, to go reach back down to bring those other young men and women right up along with us.
Man, that is really profound and needed now more than ever, because I think when the incident happened with George Floyd, one of the conversations that was floating around, where do we go from here? And you said it perfectly, where we have to get into our mind that we're either pushing each other forward or pulling someone up, and just to make sure when we make the progress, we don't get to wherever we're trying to go by ourselves. Because it doesn't matter how successful you are, it doesn't matter what you achieve, you're always going to need that social support. And not even just for the social support. As you mentioned, you're going to want people to talk to about decisions that you're going to make, because your perspective may not be the best perspective when you're thinking just from your own thoughts. But getting the insight and perspective of others, can help you to even make better decisions as you go forward. So I really like that in regards to when we're working on changing the narrative. And just to understand that we will have people around us that want to see us making progress. And likewise, we want to see those around us making progress. And I think that cannot be stressed too much. It may need to be talked about every chance we get as we go forward, because, man, if we're going to, we are powerful by ourselves. But if we should do this collectively, man, you can just imagine what we'll accomplish.
It's imperative. I get goosebumps, honestly, because when I think about how powerful we are as a people, and if you look throughout history, throughout this country, throughout its development, everything was developed with us in mind. No matter if it was the judicial system, if it was economics, if it was land, if it was financial, everything was built because it came from us, period. We, the Black male, were the strong ones.
Yep.
We developed all this stuff, and we can't seem to bring it all together collectively to become one strong, powerful people. I mean, you look back and you read through our history, I look at all the things that I went through and all my education. I'm going, where was the history about me
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
Black man? I have to learn about me as a Black man, who my ancestors were, what they did, how they did it on my own. Now, I wasn't taught all these things. I wasn't taught about Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. I wasn't taught about that stuff. I'm sitting here on social media one day and I'm like, Black Wall Street. I'm like, let me click on that. I need to order that book. And I just start ordering books. I just start ordering books to learn who's Andre Allen? Where did I come from? What about people? How did we get up? How did we get here? How did we get to Mississippi? Then you look at the railroad. I mean, so there's so much history about us that they try to suppress and hold. And yet we still are the strong is one. Because if you really think, what do they worry about all the time? If you take away us out of the home, you take away the strength in that house.
That's right. That's right. And for us to be in some of these positions, when looking at the start we got to achieve some of the things, you just know if we had equal opportunity, our achievement would be, well, we'll achieve so much. We won't have enough time to talk about it. And that's where we need to get back to understanding ourselves, understanding our power, understanding that we are powerful beyond measure, understanding that once we start this journey is to get others to understand that they too can achieve what they want out of life, because innately we have it. And I came across a quote some time ago that says, the conscious should help the unconscious to become conscious.
Correct.
So once we understand what it takes, or what's in our DNA, where we start, it's our responsibility to help those who are not yet aware to become aware of their own greatness. And so, yeah, I'm glad that you said that. And these conversations do bring some of those thoughts back to the surface. So I appreciate your perspective on how we go about changing the narrative. Because again, it's up to us. We cannot wait for someone to do for us what we need to do for ourselves.
But we don't know what we don't know.
That's right.
If you don't reach out to me, we don't connect.
Yes.
We don't have this moment. We don't have this discussion. We don't have this connection to be able to reach out to bring others within the realms, to teach them and show them, I want you to be successful. I want Dr. Cross to be successful. I want him to reach the pinnacle. I don't care how far, because I know if you get there, there's going to be other technicals right along with you.
Yep.
That's connecting to you, to your brain. Everything that you're putting out, you're just spilling it out to everybody else, because we're not going to be here long.
Nope. And that's what we have to understand.
Right. I can't take just stuff with me. I can't take it with me. So guess what? I want my legacy to be who I helped. Yes. With those little seeds that I got, that I've learned, that I picked up along the way. I want those little young fellows to understand this is what it takes. This is who you are. You are loved every single day. I want you to be successful. You are important. You are smart. It's okay to cry. I mean, all those things, all those emotions that I felt as a kid that was suppressed down, I want those. I want everybody to feel and know who to go to, who to connect with. We are strong and we are powerful, and we can and we will do this.
Oh yeah, man, we will. It's once we stay committed, as you said, man, this is just the beginning. And I know others are out there doing the work as well, but the more committed we are and understand, not just for the success, but for the liberation of our people, to break the cycle with what we have been socially constructed, or to think or about ourselves, to break those chains. And that's what we have to commit to do, not just the success, but the liberation of our people per se, our men, because once we become strong, once we become leaders within our communities or in our homes, things will change because we are the foundation, we are the pillar, and we have to operate in that manner if we are going to see changes.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to go into the next question because I realize most of these questions can take up a lot of time because there's so much that we can talk about on each of these points. But I'm going to go into the next question. What or who has influenced or inspired you to pursue the path that you're on? I know you're motivating and empowering people today, but I know you had played football. So if you want to start there and transition to your current role or what you're doing to make an impact, you can start there.
And I tell you, it truly did start probably when I was 12, and things just weren't adding up at all. And so now you sit back as a kid, and me, my brain would always just, I was that kid that was in trouble all the time because that's my surroundings that I was in. I wanted more, but it was like, where do I get more? Who do I talk to? What male do I talk to? Do I talk to a male? Because I'm supposed to be strong. I'm not supposed to show weakness. How am I going to be vulnerable? And who do I talk to about these things? So the suppression of the emotions that we have always been there. And you look at the sporting arena, you look at entertainment, you look at any industry, you look at anything, us as a people, what do they normally say first? Anger, frustration, lack of knowledge, lack of this, lack of that. And we instantly, I think we're innately become fearful of failure. We don't want to fail. I didn't want to fail. I hated it. I didn't want to, to this day, I suppress stuff because I don't want people to know that I've fallen down in certain areas. Because to this day, I don't know who to talk to on a lot of those things, a lot of those emotions that I have as a Black man. Who's going to understand me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How's someone going to understand me to be able to get me to that next level, to get that out of me? All those things are suppressed if they don't know my history. So it's just so much to go with from playing sports and then going into the corporate world. Here's this Black, bald head, muscular, athletic Black man in these executive meetings. Andre, you're not gonna disagree or hurt me if I disagree with you, are you? Excuse me? What do you mean? So you telling me I'm already coming in because I'm so big and I'm strong and I'm muscular and I'm smart that if I disagree with you, now I'm the angry Black man because if I disagree with you and I have to say something back to you? No, we have knowledge. We know how to express ourselves without getting violent. So all those things, the translation of football goes into the life, or you and the wife or your girlfriend or anybody getting a disagreement or anybody in the street or anybody. It's just everything just kind of builds up, and you have to be able to learn how to control yourself in these different environments because people always watching us. They're never going to just say, if I do something wrong, they're never going to just put in the newspaper, Andre Allen, the motivational corporate speaker, got in trouble. No, they're going to say, Andre Allen, the former ... football player, did certain things. I mean, you look at the Nebraska coach, the intern coach, Joseph, that just got in trouble the other day. People don't, they put that stuff in there, not understand the whole context of what truly happened to this brother. His brother walked into the house, seen his home, his family, his kids, his wife, and another man there. What do you expect him to do? Oh, just brush it off. Can you leave, sir? No, this man was angry and he got arrested for it. Now it's national news. Who's helping that brother out? Who's reaching out to that brother at Nebraska now? Now he probably won't even get hired on at the Nebraska staff, from that incident that he did not cause, but yet that pressure's on that brother. Now, who do we turn to help that brother pick him back up, to get him to where he needs to get to in life? Those are the things that frustrate me. Those are the things that I want. Those are the things that I see. And I'm like, man, we need to reach out to that brother. We need to help him because I know what he's going through. That pressure that was put on him to respond in a negative light. And now they want to beat him up, not looking at the true reason why this man in his own home was just violated in his own home by his own wife. And so there's just so many things that through my travels to get to me where I am and that change and the people, it's me watching. I've learned a lot from just the people that I'm around. And I have a knack to just, because I wasn't taught those things. I wasn't taught those behaviors. I wasn't taught to how to be that way. And it was one of those things I picked the different things that people, I like Brother Cross. That brother is wise. I'm listening to what he's saying. I'm gonna pick this from that brother, from Brother Cross. I'm gonna pick this from Brother such and such, and so I'm learning. I was learning and picking and prying from all the different brothers that I surrounded myself with to get the different tools and techniques that I needed to survive. To be honest with you, to become the man that I thought that God wanted me to be in this thing called life. Because the life, if you're not living, you're not learning, and if you're not learning, you're not living.
That's
I
right.
mean, this life is so short, and you always do what you've always done. You always get what you've always got. And I was always been under the impression of you learn from watching people. Sometimes you just keep your mouth shut and just watch and listen, and you can learn a lot more than speaking out loud.
And that in itself is a lesson where we can gain insights and knowledge, as you said, just from observing others. And as we go forward, we can even find mentors that way, even if we don't talk to them directly, because we can learn from their actions, learn what they're doing, and apply some of those things to our own lives and stuff like that. But you said some other stuff that I believe as we go on this journey where we are looked at in a certain light. A lot of people have a certain, sometimes misconceptions of who we are or expect we're supposed to respond a certain way. And knowing that at times can be pressure on you as a Black man and stuff like that. But you also said we can learn how to operate within those space and don't let the pressure of life or what others may put on us cause us to break, because sometimes that's happening for us to break or lose our cool and respond maybe in the way that they would want us to respond. So we have to understand what's going on and make sure the way we respond will be more in our favor than against us, because we may not get the same chance as someone else who respond in a particular way. So it's something that we have to be mindful, although we shouldn't be tiptoeing because we're going to be treated differently. I think everyone should be treated fairly on the same way. But as Black men, we know sometimes that's not the case. And that's where why it's important that we have this kind of circular community to help deal with some of the things that come to us in life.
I got one more thing to say about that
Yes.
too. I mean, we've all, I mean, especially as Black men, and I still, to this day, I deal with it. Even in sports, you deal with it. You look at the coaching, you look at the number of Black males that are not head coaches, and predominantly the teams are Black. But even in the corporate world, I face it. I've faced it I don't know how many times. No matter how many degrees, education, or knowledge you have, they're intimidated by us. And so that hence the reason why there's a lot of the reasons why the business requirements or job requirements were put there is to limit us from getting the job. No matter how many times or how many degrees or how many certifications or all the different things that we have, they will, we've gone with a different candidate. What do you mean? Can you explain to me why I was not hired or for this particular job? No, they're not going to tell you because you're a Black male and I'm intimidated by you. That's the main reason why they will not hire us. And so we have to learn how to navigate all those different things. And I think having men and mentors around to talk through all the different things, to take that edge off of us that we have when we go into these interviews and go into these places to interview for these jobs, to be able to limit that stress, to limit that pressure, to be smooth, calm, and collected when we go in there and be very knowledgeable and make it very, very hard for them not to give us, the opportunities that we so highly deserve.
Oh, yes. Man, you couldn't say that a better way. Because, yes, if you come across as knowledgeable, strong, you may not get the opportunity that you so deserve because others may be threatened by who we are and just our presence and stuff like that because they may not expect us to, one, be knowledgeable, and two, be strong and and firm, and that can definitely come off as intimidating to those who are weak, or maybe those who just have the position to prevent you from being in a space that someone may think that you may outshine them. But we're going to just focus on keeping being the best version of ourselves because at times, again, it's not just about us. We have to inspire the next generation, and we have to stay strong, not just for ourselves, but for those who are coming behind us, because if we act weak, they're going to learn to act weak and suppress their own greatness because we don't. So we have to continue to stand strong. So I'm going to go into the next question. What change, and I know you may have touched on this a little bit, what change do you want to see in general amongst Black men?
I think besides loving yourself, I think become more educated and understanding of each other. I don't think that when you start looking at the magnitude of the executives, how many of them truly reach back down to help that next young brother, young sister beneath that want and inspire to be like them, to look up to them. I just think there's not enough of that. At least I don't see that. I think we need more. We need more of that dynamic of teaching these young Black men and women,
Yeah.
but more so the men, because we know they are the leaders of the home. And so we need them to be strong. We need them to be knowledgeable. We need them to be wise as a serpent, humble as a dove. We need them to connect and know that you are strong, you are smart, you are powerful, and to deal with those inner demons that they have that they suppress until later in age or until they blow up, until they go do something that they, I see what I told you. He's always been that way. We don't want that. We want them to be wise and smart and know that they have a village of us who's got their back and here willing to help them through.
And I will just touch on 2 points that you made that I believe is really important. And as we go forward, education is important. And to make sure we are helping the next generation or just helping amongst ourselves to get to or get more out of life. Because that was one thing that I didn't see a lot, even growing up. But I realized we weren't helping each other as much as we should. Everybody else seems to be helping their own ethnic groups. They help others, of course, but we tend not to really make that an intentional thing to help each other to advance and to achieve more out of life, which I believe is important, both education and both lift as we climb on this journey. My next question, and you may have answered it already, what is a pivotal moment in your life?
That crossroad moment, huh?
Yes, that's right.
I think that crossroad moment for me was having my first son because it really hits home. At least for me, it did. Because I've always made that promise and that commitment that when I had my first child, I would be there for them. I know what it felt like not to have my father there. And so I made sure I was good. There was no ifs and buts about it. I was going to make sure that I was there to be that father, no matter if the relationship did not work with me and the mom. It was dad was going to be there. I was going to be a present dad, not just a financial dad, and not just a dad that comes in every other weekend or whatever. I was always going to be there for my child. I have three boys, 26, 25, and 18. The two oldest played football at UNI as well. Graduated, very successful. My oldest lives in North Aurora, Illinois, with his wife. My middle son, he's doing the XFL. Just got drafted by the Houston, Rough Rider team or Roughneck team. And then my 18-year-old, he's trying to figure out what he wants to do come May because he's going to graduate. And so I have been that part of my life. I've been very pleased with being a present father instead of an absent father.
Oh man, and that's great to even stress and even put some light on, because that's also one thing they said we don't do as Black men. So man, and congratulations on being exceptional and providing the guidance to your sons. So I'm going to go into the next question. What life lessons have you learned late in life that you believe this generation needs to know or can benefit from?
Love one another. Love yourself. I can honestly say that for me, there's been a lot of times didn't love myself as much as I should have. I didn't give myself enough credit for doing the things that I should have been, that I was doing. I just didn't give myself credit. I've always strived to do more. I think for me as well is another one of those crossroad moments for me is being vulnerable with the right nucleus of people. And if you pick that right nucleus of people right, you would excel because the last thing you want to do is be and live in this life with suppressing things, because when they do finally surface, they come to the surface, it's usually not a good thing. And so get that out as soon and as quickly as possible and find that right nucleus of people to help build you up.
That's important. Yeah, that's important. The vulnerability and loving oneself is important as we go forward. Again, the goal is about creating change, and change always begins with us. So we have to love ourselves if we are going to make any change, and we have to understand ourselves where we become more vulnerable to deal with some of the issues that we may be suppressing. We have been conditioned to think about ourselves growing up in certain environments, because if we are not taught certain things, we're not going to know. So to know is to, once we become aware, is to start to work on those parts of us that can help us to become our best self. But before I ask the final question, I want to ask you, where can the listeners find and help support your work that you're doing to make a difference?
I'm at www.crossroadmoments.com. My phone number's there. Text me, call me on the website or via my phone. I always have it. It's an enjoyable time for me to just hear from people, learn from people, because we're always learning. We're life learners is what I like to call myself. I don't suspect to know it all. I'm still learning about me and who I am. And I continuously just want to keep climbing and keep bringing people right along with me.
Okay, man, thanks for sharing that. I will also make sure I put the link ways for the listeners can reach out to you and connect with you and the work that you are doing. So my final question is, what impact do you want to have on the world?
My impact is I want to help one brother at a time to realize the importance of what love is. As a young, I always put every situation I put myself in is that little 106-pound Black young fellow from Itta Bena, Mississippi. I always put myself in their shoes. I always put myself, I don't put myself in a higher pedestal or anything of that magnitude. Yeah, they want to talk about sports and all the different things. That's great. But me, it's their life that I'm concerned with, because we all are just one step from this life being over, and being grateful and thankful for being here on this earth, being able to see life. You know, if your mom and daddy's here, love up on them. If you have kids, see them, be with them, love on them, be present, be around them. And if you have great friends, mentors, go spend time with them. This life is way, way too short. You got to enjoy it every single day, because you never know when it's your last.
And that's a great reminder to us just to make the impact with every conversation we have, with everyone we meet. Because, as you said, you can't stress that too much. We never know when that day will be the day. So each day we have, we need to spend it wisely and make sure we are being positive about it and being impactful in a positive way with each person that we encounter each day, and especially our families and friends that are close to us and stuff like that. So, man, that cannot be stressed too much. And it's a great reminder to us all. So, I want to say, man, thanks for sharing your insights and perspective and thoughts. I think it was well received, and it's something that we can utilize every day as we go on our journey. So, Mr. Allen, thanks for being here on the Black Male Impact. This conversation was great.
Much love, my brother. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it, man. And we'll definitely be in contact. And again, thanks for being here.
Yes, indeed, brother. Appreciate you.